You might not know this, but in part of the United States, it is already late Saturday night. Ever since 1978, Saipan, part of the Northern Mariana Islands in the western Pacific Ocean, has been a commonwealth of the U.S. The islands have been inhabited by humans for thousands of years. Adam Yamaguchi shows us how new life is now being breathed into one ancient tradition.
1, 2, 3.
In the far western corner of America, in Saipan on the Northern Mariana Islands, the native population is rediscovering an ancient tradition. The indigenous islanders, the Chamorro, are taking to the water in their distinctive canoes called Sakman.
We're an organization committed to reviving our traditional maritime culture.
June Coleman is the organizer of the group 500 Sails.
We feel that it's important to strengthen our cultural identity. It makes us better caretakers of this special place that we live.
500 Sakman canoes greeted the Spanish as they made contact with the Chamorro in the 1500s. They were the first outrigger canoes Europeans saw in the Pacific, and the Spanish were stunned by their speed, agility, and design. But for the next 100 years, the Spanish and Chamorros were embroiled in a series of bloody battles. The Spanish destroyed and banned canoes, and eventually conquered the islands.
The Chamorro people were here for over 4,000 years.
This is about reviving the culture. What happened?
The Spanish, when they came here, they were pretty ruthless, and they systematically destroyed our cultural treasure, which was the sailing canoes.
By the late 1600s, the Chamorro population was decimated by war and disease, and with it, their culture was nearly wiped out.
And so they weren't in these waters for over 275 years.
Across the Pacific, knowledge of traditional sailing began to fade, including in Hawaii, where ancient sailing practices were nearly lost.
Light as a bird, Hokulea enters her natural element.
But in the 1970s, Hawaiians rediscovered their Polynesian ocean voyaging routes when the Hokulea outrigger canoe was built and sailed 2,600 miles to Tahiti using only traditional navigation techniques. No fuel, no GPS, only the wind and the stars. That set in motion a revival of seafaring traditions throughout the Pacific.
The canoe is a living cultural treasure in the sense that we use them to travel between islands. That's how they first arrived to the islands.
These traditional canoes began the settlement of some of the most remote islands on planet Earth.
So here, hold with your right hand here, because you actually want to be looking at where the wind's coming from.
Every Saturday, Coleman hosts sailing lessons, focusing on traditional Chamorro seafaring practices.
She's helping to steer us, basically.
We joined Coleman and Liana Lynn Muna, who helped navigate our way through the bay.
You gotta be real in tune, and she's doing great.
It's taking my entire body.
Coleman says this revival is encouraging participants to become more physically active.
All we need is the wind to help us. That's what I always say, the wind is the gas and the sail is the engine.
It really puts you in tune with the elements.
While 500 Sails is growing in popularity, it has only reached a fraction of the population of the Northern Mariana Islands. Residents here experience some of the highest rates of obesity and the poorest cardiovascular health in the U.S.
We need to use canoe sailing and our culture to re-establish healthier lifestyle.
So the canoe is helping bring everything back in balance.
Coleman says the Sakman revival is in its infancy, but has hoped young people like Liana Lynn Muna and others will take the lead and eventually recruit enough people to build 500 sailing canoes once again.
Wait, next time!
At the end of our visit to Saipan, we spoke with Mario Benito, who's passing along traditional sailing techniques to his son, Lolo Beong.
I had to step in and try and make that change because from my dad's side, he taught me I should be the one to teach, the future generation about how important our culture is, how it must be kept alive till this time, because who knows, maybe 50 years, 100 years from now, people won't even speak our native tongue, and it's gonna be hard to watch.
The stars are like your best friends. If you know them well, they'll be better than your best friends because they'll never lie to you. The same stars that our ancestors used are the same stars we still have to this day.
For CBS Saturday Morning, Adam Yamaguchi, the Northern Mariana Islands.
What a beautiful assignment there. I know. We're all very jealous of. But that message that if you're not passing these traditions on, they will be lost. And I feel like we've been saying that more and more in some of the stories that we're seeing.
And showing or realizing or appreciating the value of these indigenous cultures, not only in terms of like what they do for their bodies, what they do for our world, for the environment is always real special, yeah.